Hey everyone, John Bendewald. Thank you for tuning in, as always. It's been a little while since I've uploaded anything, so I wanted to just make a quick video to update y'all on how I'm doing, where my head is at right now, and my plans going forward. So I guess first of all, I'm doing well. I'm feeling really good, really motivated and clear-headed. Physically, I haven't been feeling the best. I've kind of been neglecting my self-care, and it's to a point where I have now taken a step back and I'm starting to reassess and reincorporate those habits, because I stopped running, I was eating really poorly, my sleep schedule was all messed up, and all those things contribute to, having low energy and not enough brain power. So yeah, physically that's sort of been a struggle, but mentally and emotionally I have been feeling really good and really empowered. In regards to magic stuff, I haven't worked on magic at all since I uploaded my last video. Haven't worked on practicing it, performing it. I have been, the only way I can describe it is absorbed with what has been going on in America and in the world right now, in regards to these Black Lives Matter protests and the movement. And I made my last video, which was me sort of briefly discussing my thoughts on the movement, and I realized, because I rewatched that video, in that one, the language I used was that I was referring to it as this movement to seek justice for George Floyd, which is very important, of course, and it is part of it. But I realize that I didn't script that video correctly, because the movement is a lot bigger than just George Floyd. George Floyd's murder was the catalyst for what again is turning out to be the largest civil rights movement in history. But it was only the catalyst. It's about a lot more than that, which I think most of you know. Most people understand that at this point. I'm trying to figure out which way to walk here. I've been really immersed in it. I've been spending most of my time reading, educating myself, educating others, having conversations about these things, many of which have been uncomfortable and haven't necessarily come to a conclusion, because I've been talking with some folks who don't agree with all the different aspects of the movement that's happening, but still very important to have these conversations nevertheless. And then I've also been protesting, spending a lot of my time that way. So it has been a lot of time, a lot of energy. It's a big part of why I haven't been working on any magic stuff, and I haven't really been posting content or creating content. But I feel justified in spending my time that way. It feels well worth it to me. And it's really contextualizing everything, my entire life, and this freedom that I have to spend my time how I want, and to even make these videos and to work on things like magic and hobbies, and to travel, and all this freedom and this privilege that I have to do these things. I was just listening to a podcast before I started filming this video. I just went for a run for the first time in a while, which was good. But I was listening to a podcast, and the speaker summed it up in a really good way, I think. She said that what we're seeing right now is a lot of people are having a political awakening. That's what she called it, a political awakening. And of course there are people who have been awake for a long time, for decades, who have been fighting this fight and other fights. But this is a moment in history. She said, like, this is going to be a reference point for a lot of people looking back. 2020 is when I had my political awakening, my big one, or a political awakening, I don't know. And I know that the pandemic and the quarantine plays a very interesting role in what's happening right now. And it's good and it's bad. Basically, it's giving everyone the time and the space, the mental space, to see what's happening and to do something about it. You know, a lot of people have just all this free time on their hands now. And so it's good and it's bad, because people who are on the bad side, you might say, also have a lot of free time and a lot of energy to carry out, you know, the bad stuff that they want to do. And so that's one thing I've been thinking about, is like, I guess just from a morality standpoint, like, there are bad people in the world who are working hard to do bad shit. They wake up and that's what they spend their energy on, and that's what they spend their brain power on. That's just the reality, that people are doing that. And thankfully there are also, this is like a total generalization, but there's also like good people who are working to fight that, and who are fighting for justice and for freedom and all these things. And that's awesome. And I'm realizing, like, there's not, people think there's like middle ground there, but there's really not. Because oftentimes, if we choose to distance ourselves, we think we're like this neutral third party, but odds are we're actually complacent, and we're complicit in these systems that are causing the injustice. I just feel like I've had this awakening, and I don't want to go back. I don't want to live in a world where I can spend my time practicing card tricks while people are dying, when I could be helping fight against the systems that are causing people to die. I didn't sign up for this. No one did, obviously. Like, no one signed up for this, but we're the ones who are here. And it's our responsibility to tackle these issues, whether or not we choose to believe that or accept it. That's the truth. So I don't want to be silent anymore. I don't want to be complacent anymore. And I know that I talked about this a bit in the last video, like becoming an activist or becoming an ally. It's a journey. There's stages to it, and it's fluid. It's not like you just hit a point where you're like, oh, I'm an ally now. Like, I get it, and I'm a good guy now. There's stages of learning, and there's stages of growth, and it never stops. It's an ongoing process. But yeah, this for me, I agree with that podcast. This is going to be a reference point. Like, I get depressed sometimes, I get despondent sometimes, because I'm like, oh, you know, I don't know if I can make a career doing magic, or like, oh, I don't know if I'll be able to travel to a different country in the time frame that I would like to. And that's not to invalidate those struggles. You know, everyone has struggles. That's but like, when you open your eyes to the bigger picture, to the larger context, the struggles, just I care less about them. I care more about the people who are dying. Yeah, and I apologize if this video isn't quite as eloquent as my others. This is actually the first time where this is completely unscripted. Well, maybe not the first time, but yeah, this is unscripted, so this is just where my head is at right now. I'm really not worried about like the frequency in which I'm going to be posting, and I'm certainly not worried about my project of becoming a magician right now, because those are like lowest on my list of priorities. And I'm not saying I'm going to give them up forever. I'm not saying that. But right now, I'm taking the time to delve into this issue that I'm seeing happening in my country, happening in the world. I also want to take more time, again, to focus on that self-care, that physical aspect of things, so that I can have the energy, both mentally and physically, to focus on this issue. So yeah, that's really what I wanted to say. I'm not sure, when my next video is going to be. I'm probably going to end up making more videos about like this topic, honestly, before I ever get to making magic related videos. And yeah, that's just how I feel. So I love you guys. I always appreciate you watching, and keep fighting the good fight. I'll see you next time.